You are watching the New American Media.
It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for the Unhappy Hour live sports radio show on thenewamericanmedia.com. Here is your host, Brian Engelman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Yes, some of us as Cleveland sports fans are not enjoying this happy hour. That's why it's called the Unhappy Hour. We left the NBA Finals watching LeBron celebrate his first championship in NBA Finals MVP, and got to change it to the NFL Network and watch the drive and the fumble. That was great, switching to the Browns and remembering those lousy times too. But that's why we get together every Friday at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern to talk about the unhappy times we've all experienced as Cleveland sports fans. It's kind of like a therapy group. We are pleased to be joined with NBA scout and lifelong Cleveland sports fan Zak Baris. You can find Zak at ZBaris, ZBaris, on Twitter. Zak, we're talking about some of the Cavs stuff, some of the LeBron stuff. Let's tie all those together with how do you see the top five playing out in this draft? And then after that, because we're going to have to explore that for a little bit, the second question is going to be, after this draft, how soon before the Cavs can start competing? So how do you see things shaking out? Obviously, Anthony Davis is going one. After that, what is your gut telling you you're going to see?
I'm saying, as of right now, Thomas Robinson, 2 to the Bobcats, which I'm very, very happy about if that happens. I really hope it does. But there's also the slight possibility they go and take Harrison Barnes at 2. Michael Jordan likes Harrison Barnes, apparently sees a little bit of himself in Harrison Barnes. Barnes, and that's what I was saying all along, is Michael Jordan might just try to go and please the home crowd. Take the University of North Carolina guy who was a lot like, and try to build him up. And it's going to be Barnes or Robinson at 2. There's an interesting thing. Harrison Barnes canceled his workout with the Sacramento Kings, meaning that he had a promise from a top 4 team. That could mean something. I am going to say Thomas Robinson, 2 to the Bobcats, so at this point. 3, I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Wizards at this point will be taking Brad Beal after the trade made the other day, involving Trevor Ariza and Emeka Okafor for Rashard Lewis.
And why does that make sense after the trade now? Because they did this.
They acquired a small forward in Trevor Ariza. Now they need a small shooting guard. They need a guy in the wing, a lot like a Brad Beal. There's no reason to bring Michael Kidd-Gilchrist in there and sit Trevor Ariza. You acquired Trevor Ariza for a reason. You took on extra salary. You're going to go and draft Brad Beal. I see that happening there, and I think if Kidd-Gilchrist falls to the 4 for the Cavs, I think that's a dream scenario. Yes, Harrison Barnes is a better scorer, but Kidd-Gilchrist, I think, has much higher potential than Harrison Barnes. He's a much better defender, and his offensive game can develop. He only shot around 27% on jump shots last year, but that can be improved. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It could be a 2 to 3 season thing, but overall, looking at it, I think it's the best fit for the Cavaliers to take Michael Kidd-Gilchrist at 4. And then I see Sacramento landing Harrison Barnes at 5. Although the Cavaliers could always take Harrison Barnes at 4, it is possible, or even Andre Drummond, which I don't think so. And then, because Kidd-Gilchrist is a perfect fit for Sacramento at number 5 if he were to fall. I just don't know if he will. This guy was a projected top 2 lock as if 2 weeks ago. Kidd-Gilchrist was a lock in the top 2. He was, guaranteed the second pick, and now all of a sudden things are changing.
Now, why have they changed?
Just because teams bring in individual players for workouts, and teams tend to fall in love with certain players during workouts. I tend to look more on game tape than an individual workout because you're not playing against anyone. I mean, sometimes you're playing a one-on-one, but personally, I tend to look at game film a lot more. I think it's a lot more important. That's just me. Some people, are completely different. But I prefer to look at game film and rewatch game tape and say and everything, and to see how a guy played against similar opponents, how he played against opponents that might be tougher, that might not be as tough. But I look at all of that, and I think Kidd-Gilchrist is the second best player on the board. I think Brad Beal, though, like I said, he was in an offense, though, that I don't know necessarily fit his scheme, where he could be a lot better than the offense he played in.
And then,
he has that Ray Allen type in him offensively.
And then as far as rounding out the rest of the top 10, I suppose, any
6 is either going to be Damian Lillard or Andre Drummond, I believe. I think Lillard is a good fit for Portland. He can score. who's picking 7? I can't think who's picking 7.
Okay, I will get that for you.
I just don't have it in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm not in front of a computer right now.
Okay.
Golden State. I'm sorry. I just blanked. Golden State.
I was looking it up. You beat me to it. I didn't have it in front of me.
Golden State. I just thought of it. I just realized I was like Golden State's picking 7. That's another wild card right there. I think Terrence Jones could go 7, but I don't think he will. I think that's another wild card. I'm really having problems picking that one with that pick. I do like at number 8, though. I really like Deion Waiters from Syracuse. Or there's Jeremy Lamb. I think could even go as high as number 8 to Toronto. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Lamb, especially if he gets in the right situation. He could be a really good. He could be a dynamic scorer, and that's exactly what Toronto needs and what they lack exactly.
And then you got Detroit, and then another New Orleans pick.
Detroit. I think there's John Henson right there sitting at 9 for Detroit. And I don't really know who New Orleans is thinking at this point. I don't think it's going to be Kendall Marshall. I don't know if they're going to go point guard. I think they're going to go with another big. It's just a question of who the best available big is sitting on the board at number 10. If Andre Drummond's sitting there, if he happens to be sitting there, I can promise you right now that the Hornets would jump on Andre Drummond to pair with Anthony Davis if he's sitting there.
And how far do you think Jared Sullinger could fall?
I think Sullinger could fall as low to the Cavs at 24. I don't think he will fall to 24. I bet you he gets selected, somewhere around 20th.
Do you think you could see the Cavs moving up a few spaces, trading away a future asset?
I could see them trading away the 34th pick and the 24th pick, or the 33rd and the 24th, to go move up a few spots again. That's if the team's willing to do it. I look for another wild card pick in there. Is if a team really likes Sullinger. Minnesota's pick is available at 18. I don't know what they want for it. Apparently they're looking to sell the pick, or they're looking to move up. But if they're looking to sell the pick, and I were the Cavaliers, I would and I wanted Sullinger, I would move in there. I think the Chicago Bulls is another good fit for Jared Sullinger. If they were to go and trade, if they could get rid of Carlos Boozer somehow, I think that's another good fit because Sullinger's a cheaper option. He's younger, and then it allows you to have all that cap space back if you were to amnesty Boozer, or you could try to move his contract.
Well, then let's wrap it up with this. How long after this draft before the Cavs are going to start competing again? Because, this is kind of the culmination of a 2-year cycle of rock bottoming out. Like you said, we couldn't even hit rock bottom that first year because we were in transition mode as the season started, trading away players and accumulating draft picks, and it was such a mess. Now that we've probably this has got to be the bottoming out point where your former MVP goes and wins elsewhere. You've finally had a chance to change your roster around, get your new coach in place. With this pick, whoever it turns out to be at 4, it's going to be at least one of your top 4 players. When will the Cavs become competitive again?
I would say they could even be a playoff team this year. It would not shock me if they were in the playoffs this year as an 8 seed. But I'm talking about ultra competitive again, being in the top 3 or 4 seeds. I'm looking at least 3 years, maybe 2, depending on how well whoever they pick pans out and what they do in free agency. If they could add a couple pieces in free agency right away, within a year, they could be back on top real soon. I'm not saying they could beat a team like Miami because they wouldn't be able to. But like I said, it's 2 years from now. If LeBron James decides to come back to Cleveland. Suddenly you can go from a 40-win team to being a 65-win team again. You
keep saying that, though. You keep saying
it. Just because, like I said, for some reason I have that in my mind. I've had it in my mind for a couple of years, for a year now, that I think he realized what he did was wrong. And I think now that he's won a championship in Miami, I think he's actually proven now, because you know what? I did what I came down here to do. I won. And let's say he wins another one next year and doesn't win in 2 years. And he goes, I won 2 titles down there in 4 years. I consider that really successful. We didn't win 4 like I wanted to, but I'll take 2. Now I'm going to go home. I'm going to win. I'm going to repair my image. Everyone will love me again. Other than the fans in Miami, all 8 of them that exist.
all 8 of them.
And it gives him a chance to repair his image with his old town. And try to win a title over there. I think it would make a great story for him, and I think it's a great story for him, and it'd be a great story for the city of Cleveland. It gives the chance the Cavs to rebuild and put a good team around him, and it allows the Cavaliers to be in control rather than letting LeBron be in control in the franchise. kind of like how Mickey Harrison and Pat Riley are in charge down there. They don't let LeBron dictate the moves down there. You know, kind of like he did in Cleveland. You know, he was behind every big decision the Cavaliers made, it seems like, for a couple of years. You know, it just doesn't seem like it'll be like that in the future. Because if you have a guy under contract like that, and you know, if this guy's going to leave in 4 years, he'll be 34 by the time this deal ends. Who cares? You know, he's not going to be a superstar at 34. You know, with his body, it's going to be tough to be for anyone to be a superstar at 34.
That's the danger there. You know, do you get back the old, used, worn out? It's almost like, you ever see Forrest Gump?
Yes.
You know when Jenna ends up coming back to him after she's all beat up and just sick, and you know, she went her own direction, did her own thing, had a lot of fun, and then she comes back to the person that really loved her, and you know, just in time to, I don't know. I just worry about that, Zach. You talk about him coming back, and it's like, what if we finally get him back? You know, as his body starts to wear out. But you know what? Not that I'm holding my breath to get him back, not that I want him back, not that I need him back, not that you're saying that either. It's just, it's an interesting subplot to the story. We got about 20 seconds left. Zach, wrap it up for us, sir.
Just thank you again for having me on the show. I always love being on. It's always a great time, and I look forward to being on again in the near future.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Zach. Zach is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. You can find him on Twitter at Zak Baris. That's Zbaris. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter. Yeah, it's been a long season. It's been a weird season, but it's time to move on. Time to move on for sure. And we're going to move on here in just a second. We're going to take this hard pivot, as we like to say, plant our foot, and turn another direction. We're going to shift from the Unhappy Hour Sports Show on the NewAmericanMedia.com to Agree to Disagree. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you for listening to us on YouTube. Please click subscribe. We would appreciate that. We'll be right back.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on the NewAmericanMedia.com.
Be sure that you go on to Facebook.com and do a quick search for The New American Media and like our page, because we like it when you do that. TNAM Radio, because the news always matters. Hi, Brian from the NewAmericanMedia.com. Last year I had this idea. I wanted to start a website of my own, not just something, a presence on Twitter, a presence on Facebook, and have a thing. I wanted a website. I wanted a home base for all of the ideas and things I'm interested in. I wanted live radio. I wanted to communicate with the globe. I was tired of being spoon-fed dogma by corporate interest and just, here, believe this, believe this. I said, no, I think there's something underneath the surface, but I didn't know how to do it. So I contacted Ted Distel of DistelDesign.com. Ted walked us through the process of, okay, you want videos, you want to do quotes of the day, you want to have a spiritual section, you want to have a 1984 watch where government's intruding and private corporations are intruding into your privacy. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in. Ted walked me through the process. We built thenewamericanmedia.com, and I encourage you to go online and take a look at our site. That's what he's capable of. Please, if you have an idea, go to disteldesign.com. That's DISTEL design.com.
Have you ever considered adopting a pet to be part of your family? Our animal companions can be just as close to us as our human companions. If you're considering adoption, please visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. Shelter pets make the best pets.
Follow the NewAmericanMedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
This is the New American Media. Hi, it's Brian from the NewAmericanMedia.com. I'm a sports fan. I was raised in Cleveland, spent 25 years in Ohio. I watched The Drive, The Fumble, The Shot too. I watched Art Modell steal the Cleveland Browns and win a Super Bowl over in Baltimore. I watched a horrible coach named Bill Belichick go on to the Patriots and win Super Bowls over there. Hooray. I am a bitter sports fan. Let's not even talk about what happened with he who shall not be named, who went to South Beach to take his talents there. Excuse me, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit there.
I'm a sports fan who cares to talk about the things that matter to me. That is the Indians, the Cavs, the Browns, and the Buckeyes. But of course, I pay attention to national sports, and we discuss that on our show as well. That's why we have The Unhappy Hour every single Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Sit down, have a drink. It's the end of a long work week, and we can all get together and talk about the unhappy times that we've had as sports fans. We've all had them. We've had ups and downs, but as Cleveland fans, we only have downs. Join us.
If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com. If you want a sports program that's going to both talk about national stories and care about the Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeyes, come over to thenewamericanmedia.com and bring a couple of your friends.